having to wear sunglasses. Either
I was
that
actually thinking that exact same thing.
Either that or he's just being a giant dork and he's wearing sunglasses inside.
I wear my sunglasses inside.
If this isn't an indication of how this show is, then I don't know what else is. But we are the Sports Fans live today, this day, the 3rd of March, 2021. My name is Kel Hansen, otherwise known as the Crimson Comet.
My name is Brady Fulmer, otherwise known as Lazy Snake.
I'm Prison Mike.
And I'm Jason Call, the Bearded Wonder.
How you guys been the last couple days? Everything going good?
So good.
Fantastic. The sun has been shining in Star Valley, and it's been nice.
How warm was it in Star Valley today?
Probably like 35 degrees.
It was in the 50s. It was in the 50s today.
See, that's too hot for me now.
No, it was so nice. Mike went and played outside and just suntanned today.
Yeah, you should have got a picture of that.
Went out in his Speedo in full glory.
You got to get started on that tan sooner or later.
No, I honestly I was tempted to. It was so nice. There was no wind. The sun was shining. It was a warm temperature. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Anyways, for those watching for the first time, we are the Sports Fans. We are a sports comedy show. Even though we're not exactly sports experts, nor are we comedians, we do enjoy what we do, and we hope that you guys will enjoy what we do within the next hour that we have to spend with you guys. Anyways, we're just going to jump right into it. There's a lot of things we want to talk about, starting with the NFL. I want to hear your guys' thoughts when it comes to some of the cuts that have happened, and particularly some names that have really kind of stuck out to you guys so far. Jason, why don't you go first?
Okay. So, with the NFL, just some things that have stuck out. Dolphins cutting Kyle Van Noy.
There was so much sadness in your voice when you said that.
There is a little bit of sadness, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure he's going to be able to be picked up by another team at this point. It would surprise me if he wasn't. But he's not the only one at this point. There's rumors of other surprising cuts now. Kellen kind of updated me on a couple. I'll let you talk about that.
Well, yeah, so obviously I think just to start off, going on Jason's point, Kyle Van Noy, he was actually kind of blindsided, and he said he was as surprised as anyone when the Dolphins decided they were going to move on, because last year he signed a 4-year, $51 million deal in free agency. I think it was like $30 million guaranteed though. But I think ultimately his departure, I think they calculated would save the Dolphins about $10 million in cap space, which I guess that kind of makes sense. The biggest thing, though, is they are going to have to give him a ton of money. And if I'm him, I'm not too worried about getting picked up by another team. But I am a little bit surprised by that, because Kyle Van Noy is a real leader for that defense, and for a team that improved greatly, I think he was a big presence in that locker room. So I think obviously that was a little bit of a surprise to a lot of people. But what are your guys' thoughts? Did the Dolphins make the right decision, or do you think it was a little premature? Let's go with Brady.
So I don't know all the details of the situation, but from what I can see and from what I know about Kyle Van Noy, I feel like it was not the right decision. I feel like maybe he didn't have as great a year this year as he had previous years, but I still feel like he's a guy who can play at a high level in this league. And I feel like it was a little bit premature, but I guess time will tell. But I'm going to have to side with you BYU fans, because I'm sure you'll probably take the same stance as me. I feel like Kyle Van Noy should be kept by the Dolphins, and I'm not sure why they released him. It was definitely surprising, just like he said.
Mm-hmm. Prison Mike?
I think it was a good cut because all BYU players are bad people. I'm kidding.
Oh,
No,
you're in trouble now, Mike.
Mike, Jason
well,
was like, Jason was a supporter of you, and you just bit the hand that's been feeding you, man.
No, I know. I'm just joking though. I like Brady. I gotta throw as many shots as I can because BYU is not a bad team. I don't mind watching them, but sometimes I get tired of listening to all the fans. But no, I agree with Brady and you guys. I think he was cut prematurely. I haven't been following the Dolphins or Kyle Van Noy, so I don't know a whole lot of how he's been playing or the situation. But just from what you guys have said, yeah, it seems a little premature. But what it comes down to is this is a sport of money. Like the NFL, that's why they're there, is to make money. And so if it helps out the organization, then that's what they're going to choose to do, is to save money.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then another big name that a lot of people recognize, tight end Kyle Rudolph. And I kind of want to hear Brady's thoughts on this one. Obviously, a former second-round pick from 2011, 31-year-old. A lot of people at one point considered him to be one of the top tight ends in the league. I want to hear what Brady's thoughts are about this, what happened with Kyle Rudolph.
So it's super sad to see Kyle Rudolph go as a Vikings fan. He's one of the, in my opinion, he's one of the best guys in the league. He's always nominated for the Walter Payton Man of the Year. Just a super, super good dude. Super big part of Minnesota. He's been there for 9 years. But I feel like this cut wasn't very surprising. It made sense. They needed to free up the cap room. He's getting a little bit older. They have a young, promising tight end who's playing more and more in Irv Smith. He was a rookie this last year. Or excuse me, it was the second year out of Alabama this past year, but super sad to see Kyle Rudolph go. He wrote a letter that I wrote called Dear Minnesota, which was probably like thousands and thousands of words long, and it about made me tear up. You got me emotional.
Wow.
So super sad to see Kyle Rudolph is a huge part of Minnesota, but it makes sense. It's like Mike was saying, it's a business world. They have to treat it like a business, and it just didn't make sense financially to keep him. So he'll be picked up by someone. He's got some of the best hands in the league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I when I look at Kyle Rudolph, I see a guy that over the last 2 years, his numbers have diminished. He hasn't received as many targets, and I don't think he's been as big of a threat. Not that he's not a good player, but I think ultimately them being able to save money on cap space as well as kind of move on from that isn't a terrible thing for the Minnesota Vikings. Do you guys have any other thoughts, Mike or Jason?
It's sad to see him go. You know, the life of a superstar tight end in the NFL is kind of a fleeting thing. Like, with the exception of maybe Gronk, you're a good tight end for 2 or 3 years, and the window of opportunity is not large for tight ends, I feel.
What about Kelsey?
How long has he been at the top of his game, though?
He's had 5,000-yard receiving. He's had 5 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons.
That's impressive. But how many other tight ends are doing that?
I mean, you said other than Gronk, so yeah.
Well,
but no,
I missed one. You big technicality jerk.
Hey, I'm just calling it as it is. Sorry.
Oh, man.
I agree with you. It's definitely a position where it's not the most glamorous for sure, except if you're Travis Kelce or Rob Gronkowski.
Do you have any thoughts, PM? And let's not forget about Kittle, though. I still think Kittle's going to come back.
That's true. He was injured a lot this last year, kind of got overlooked.
And then, so just to end this segment, here's some other players. This is from the score.coms. These are some other people that, because the NFL changed their cap space rule, and so because of it, a lot of teams are going to have to cut players. So these are it's an article that said NFL veterans who could be surprise offseason cuts. One of them is Broncos linebacker Von Miller. Now, I know that hurts Jason's heart a little bit, but the reason why he is a little bit older, he missed all of last season. He has been the subject of an undisclosed criminal investigation and could face NFL discipline, making him a huge risk to retain for $22 million. Plus, they would save $18 million in cap space if they did get rid of him.
If the Broncos cut Von Miller, I'm declaring my free agency as an NFL fan.
Wow.
He's one of the only reasons I've stuck around for as long as I have.
But he didn't even play last year. That's part of. I feel like that's a huge factor of why they're even considering cutting him. Like, is he going to play this next year?
Probably. I mean, it wasn't a choice not to play. It was an injury.
Yeah, he was injured.
Yeah.
So,
another point though is like he is older. He is 32 years old, and at this age, you start seeing a lot more injuries, especially among linebackers. So,
I'm going to be honest. I've been looking for a good excuse for a couple seasons, and this just might be the one for me.
You're not a true Broncos fan, Jason. I'm declaring that.
We've had this discussion before. I like following my BYU guys in the NFL a little more than I like watching the Broncos. So, unless the Broncos are good, I'll jump back on that wagon.
So, some other names: Chiefs left tackle Eric Fisher, Landon Collins from the Washington football team. Got to be politically correct, and then Marcus Mariota. That one wouldn't surprise me. Malcolm Butler. So there's a list. Here's one I think we will see: tight end Zach Ertz of the Eagles. I would be surprised to see him with the Eagles next year.
Yeah, he's out.
I like Zach Ertz, but it's kind of that same situation. Like, I think you've seen his play decline the last 2 years, and especially after last season where he really was a non-threat most games. So, yeah, that's another name. I think we're going to move on from this topic just for time purposes. So I want to talk about a certain guy. Now, this is a guy that we've hated on, and then we've actually kind of praised at times. We've been so inconsistent with how we feel about this guy. And it's not that we think he's bad. I don't know. He's kind of
he's not as good as he thinks he is.
But let's be real.
Anyways.
He plays for the Cowboys. That's why.
You guys talking about me?
Prison Mike, the sixth string quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. Prison Mike Moyes. Anyways, there are certain reports, according to Yahoo Sports, that Cowboys' Dak Prescott is seeking a deal within the same ballpark as the greatest player in the game right now, Patrick Money Mahomes. And I think this is laughable, guys. I want to hear your guys'
laughing.
I think Dak Prescott saying he wants to be in the same tax bracket as Patrick Mahomes at this point in his career is absolutely asinine. And I think we need to crap on Dak Prescott a little bit. So who wants to jump on board the Dak crap train with me?
Maybe this is a strategy he's implying to get out of Dallas. Maybe Deshaun Watson needs to take up this strategy. Just ask for way more money than you're worth and make a big stink about it. I don't know. Like, what the heck is he thinking?
There's no way he's worth that much money. But if there's anyone crazy enough to pay him, it'd be the Cowboys.
I can just see now Jerry Jones just being like, okay, Dak, do you promise me you will play well? And Dak
And you won't break your leg again.
Sure. And he's like, okay, I will pay you $4 billion a season. I could see it. I mean, he's done. I mean, Jerry Jones has already shown us that he's an absolute moron as a GM. So why not? Like,
yeah,
I mean,
why not give
he kept Jason Garrett around when he shouldn't have. So
yeah, I kind of see this a little bit of Dak looking at how much they paid Zeke Elliott. When Zeke kind of had his problems. The difference is Zeke is, I know we've crapped on him a little bit, but he's a decent running back. Like, I wouldn't say top tier, but the next level down. I don't even see Dak in that conversation. Like we're talking Patrick Mahomes and then, Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson and these guys. Dak's not in my top 5. He's not getting paid like a top 5 quarterback. Why?
Well, and I totally agree with that. And the thing is it'd be one thing if he like had played the whole season and put up good numbers, but coming off injury, like a guy who literally, I mean, he was putting up some monster numbers at the beginning of the season, but this is a guy who missed most of the season because he broke his leg, which was a horrific injury, and I think when he deserves praise, we'll praise him. But coming off injury, I mean, this is a guy who one time said that like the $30 million contract he wasn't enough to provide for his family. I remember Brady and I talked about that on our show. Was it last semester or was it the year before? But like, yeah, he's like
the year before. It was a while ago.
$30 million isn't enough to provide for my family. It's like not enough to provide for your family. What? For you could buy like a private jet for like 10 members of your family, and that's not enough to provide for him. So I guess ultimately he wants this money because he's thinking, all right, I want my family to have a good life and I want to provide for them. So $500 million is what I need, because man, this guy needs to go to a self-reliance class. This guy is just
no, the Cowboys need to say, hey, instead of raising your money on your contract, we'll just give you a financial coach.
For real. Somebody needs to get Dak an accountant. Mike, I want to hear your thoughts. I feel like you got some funny opinions.
No, I pretty much agree with you guys. Like the main thing that stuck out to me is he's coming off of a bad leg injury, like you said, and demanding that much money. I mean, I think he has a better chance of like robbing a bank and getting away with it than he does getting this contract, if we're being honest. And
I like that.
Are you and Dak planning something, Prison Mike?
Maybe. I need to provide for my family too. That's all I gotta say. My future family.
Mike needs $500 million too.
But I've actually never heard I've never heard that before. That he said he needed $30 million wasn't enough to provide for his family, and that is ridiculous. Like somebody give me $30 million and they'd never hear from me again. That's all I gotta say.
If somebody gave me $1 million, you'd never hear from me, and I'd be
dude. There's a business idea in here somewhere. Like a guy who just like is a counselor for athletes that teams hire you to come talk to their players that are acting crazy. Like Kyrie could use one, Dak could use one. Terrell Owens could have used one back in the day. Antonio Brown. I'm telling you, there's money there.
Marcus Russell.
Yeah, but I think there's
maybe you shouldn't buy 12 Big Macs. Maybe you should buy treadmill.
I think Marcus Russell could have used a personal trainer.
Yeah, he could have used a dietitian.
But there's no way the Cowboys paying that much money, and if they do, it is going to be the most ridiculous thing in sports history almost.
Well, that's the thing is it's like if I'm the Cowboys, I'm thinking, Russell Wilson just said he wants to play. He wouldn't mind playing for the Cowboys, and Deshaun Watson wants out of Houston. Like those quarterbacks are better than ours, and they want less money than him. So, of course, Jerry Jones would have to be smart to do that. Like he would actually have to use that brain of his. But I'm not exactly optimistic that that's going to happen. I think.
When you insult people in that accent, you have to say "bless their heart" afterwards.
Yeah, bless their heart. I'm going to give. Not only am I going to give Dak $1 billion a year, he can marry my daughter. And
oh man,
Jerry Jones, man, Jerry freaking Jones. Anyways, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to the NBA. Mike, why don't you fill us in on some of the All-Star weekend venues that are going to be going on, some of the events. You can give us
So, yeah, this Sunday is the All-Star weekend. Pretty much it's the All-Star day now. They're doing all of the events, I believe, in one day. But we'll start out with the dunk contest. They released the participants for the dunk contest as well as a three-point shooting contest. And I was quite disappointed with the dunk contest participants. Just from who they are, I was quite disappointed. One is Obi Toppins from the New York Knicks. The other is Cassius Stanley from the Indiana Pacers. And the third one is a guy from the Trailblazers. I don't even remember his name. I've never heard of him.
It's Anthony Simmons.
Anthony.
Anthony.
I was less disappointed about who was in it and more disappointed in how many contestants there were. I get that they've got to do it in the halftime break of the All-Star game this year, but 3 guys, like, it's the NBA. You can't at least round that up to 5 or something? Like, what the heck?
Well, and here's some news that I just found out is Alex Caruso actually was extended an invite and declined it.
Wow.
Dang.
I know. That would have been awesome.
I honestly just don't think anyone really wants to do it this year. Just how there were guys complaining about them even having an All-Star game. I feel like just no one is really into it this year.
I feel like the fact that they're all doing it in the same day kind of takes away some of the hype. Like, I think the dunk contest is like during halftime of the actual game. I wouldn't really want to play in that either because it just takes away the hype, like, from the event itself.
So, Brady, do you think that there's only 3 because they could only get 3 guys that wanted to do it, or do you think they only picked 3?
It honestly, I feel like they could have got more than 3, especially with the kind of guys that look like they were recruiting. They look like they were pretty much letting anyone sign up. But I feel like the point, because they're doing it at halftime of the All-Star game, they didn't want it to take like an hour. So I feel like they just got 3 just to kind of make it quick.
Yeah. One guy I think they should have went out and got is Tyreek Hill. Did you guys see his little dunk highlight video he put out? That was a sweet windmill.
That was a sweet windmill.
Yeah.
That would be cool if they got athletes. That's an idea. Get athletes from different sports who can throw it down. We've seen videos of guys in the NFL just
get Mike in there.
Yeah, get person Mike in there.
Yeah.
Get me a trampoline. Get me a trampoline.
No. He doesn't need a trampoline.
Kellen would be like that video of the one guy who goes up and is just short and just comes down on his face.
Dude, I would be like Spice Adams out there, baby.
No. All Mike needs to do to compete in the dunk contest is to bring me out as his celebrity prop, and I'll just get down on my hands and knees, and he can jump off my back.
There we go.
That's worth at least 45 points.
Yeah, I know. We'd probably beat some of the guys in it. As far as the contestants, I mean, we know Obi can dunk just because that's what he did in college last year. Cassius Stanley, he played for Duke. He's also a rookie. And that guy, I've also watched some highlights. That guy can get up. But I don't know as far as like how cool of dunks he can do. I have no clue what he can do that way. I just know he can jump. I think he broke Zion Williamson's vertical record, I'm pretty sure. So, I mean, I'm quite positive. So he can jump. And then the guy from the Trailblazers, like I said, I've never even heard of him. So I don't know anything that he can do.
I'm sure he can throw down. I mean, that's the thing is, like, I'm sure there will be good dunks. I just don't think the dunk contest has hype this year, which is unfortunate because last year's dunk contest was so elite. But I understand.
For me, honestly, I prefer to watch in-game dunks rather than I do dunks like these. Like I feel like Anthony Edwards' dunk was this year in-game is going to be better than any of the ones we're going to see in the dunk contest.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Agreed.
So I don't look forward to it too much. Just they're so unrealistic, the dunks. I prefer to see it in-game where it's actually like in the middle of a competition.
Can I be honest?
Oh, go ahead, Kellen.
Oh, no, you go ahead first.
I was going to say, I'd like to see the fans be able to vote for a contestant in the dunk contest every year. You know what I mean? And the player obviously would have the choice to accept or deny it. But I think that might be incentive for these guys that can do crazy dunks to go do those crazy dunks in games to maybe draw those votes or get that attention. I think it might be interesting.
Yeah. Can I be honest, though, guys? I think that,
Yes.
believe it or not, the three-point contest is going to be in my opinion, the highlight of this year's. Because the dunk contest, there's not a lot of star power. But the three-point contest, there are some shooters, man. This is going to be an awesome three-point contest this year. And from what I'm seeing, the people that will be participating are Devin Booker, Zach LaVine, Jaylen Brown, Stephen Curry, Donovan Mitchell, and Jason Tatum. Who's going to win that? Like, that's my question is I'm not sure who will win that. I mean,
Steph
obviously,
Curry.
I don't know. Devin Booker can shoot.
I know, but you'd have to be nuts not to bet on Steph Curry. Yeah. And this is coming from a guy that doesn't really appreciate the Wizards as much as others.
Warriors.
The Warriors.
See what I'm talking about? The Warriors. Wow. My bad. I meant the
That's your
Warriors.
bad.
It came out. Anyway, but I think you'd have to be a fool to bet against Stephen Curry. But as a Jazz fan, and I asked this question before the show because I wasn't sure, if Donovan Mitchell can go in and win that, I think he's the first person in NBA history to win the dunk contest and the three-point contest. That in itself is why I'm going to be watching.
Yeah.
Are you going to watch that?
I plan on it.
Attaboy.
I feel like
Brady?
I'm in the minority here. I feel like I'm in the minority because I'm someone who pretty much every year I enjoy the three-point contest more than the dunk contest, which I know to all you guys probably sounds crazy, but the three-point is my favorite thing in basketball, as you guys probably know. I enjoy watching those guys just light up, and as I want to say Donovan Mitchell has a chance. I thought he had a chance until I saw Steph Curry was doing it, and I feel like Steph Curry's just going to take it hands down. But while we're on the subject, I got a little trivia for you guys. Who has the lowest scoring? You guys ready for this trivia? I looked this up, and it'll surprise you. Who has scored the lowest all time in the three-point shooting contest? Who's had the worst performance ever? Anyone have any guesses?
How long ago was it? Can we have that hint?
It was about 20 or so years ago.
Ooh, Kobe Bryant.
No.
Is it going to be like really surprising? I want to say someone crazy like Reggie Miller.
I have no clue.
All right, ready?
That would make me laugh if it was Reggie Miller.
Michael Jordan.
Ooh.
You know, that's not surprising to me, though.
Yeah.
Because
I'm surprised he competed
really
in it.
known for his three-point shooting.
I'm more surprised he was in the three-point contest.
Yeah, I agree. He definitely doesn't seem like someone who would be in it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have even guessed him because I wouldn't have assumed he was ever in one. So that's interesting.
That is a good trivia, Brady.
I just saw that.
Brain Games with Brady.
And this wasn't on our agenda, guys, but I'm on the link right now and reading it. The skills challenge this year is drawing a couple guys that I'd like to watch. Luka Doncic and Chris Paul are both going to be in that. So that's going to be interesting to watch as well. There's other guys as well. Those are just the two that stand out.
Also, let's remember, if Zach LaVine wins the three-point contest, he would also be a former dunk and three-point.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about LaVine.
That's true.
I feel like just going. Have we announced everyone who's in the three-point competition on the show? Have we done that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go out on a limb because I agree with you guys. I feel like Stephen Curry is obviously the person to bet on. Like, you'd be crazy not to. But if he doesn't win, I feel like Zach LaVine might have a chance. That guy can shoot.
Zach LaVine is a very complete player.
He really is. I feel like he's one of the more underrated players in the NBA, mainly because the Bulls aren't a really good team.
Yeah. No, that's the thing.
So there's a chance anyone can win it, but I feel like if it's not Stephen Curry, Zach LaVine has a pretty good shot as well.
Yeah. No, and Jason made a good point, though. I was looking at the Taco Bell Skills Challenge. First of all, I love that it's Taco Bell that's in charge of it. Yeah, there's some good dudes in that one as well.
Taco Bell, if you're listening, Kellen's a huge fan. We could use the endorsement.
Kellen, what would you do if Taco Bell sponsored this podcast?
Mike, what did you do?
He would gain
when
like
you were
30
happiest
pounds.
you ever were in your life.
I don't know.
Did you ever cry? Like, have you ever cried tears of joy?
No.
Golly, Mike. That's so sad.
I don't think so.
Oh man,
I would cry.
that's kind of
That's what I would
depressing.
do. That's kind of depressing, Mike.
I've cried lots of sad tears. but I
Mike,
don't
your
know if I've
wife
ever
had a
cried tears
baby.
of
It's a boy. Good.
Good. Better grow up to be a
I
farmer.
don't. Oh man, be nice to Mike.
Does he have strong rancher's hands? No, I love that. No, I would be so happy, Mike. Jason made a good point. You gained 30 pounds. Like, yeah, probably. Dude, no, I'd be so happy. I would. I love Taco Bell. Like, I tried to convince my wife to let me name one of our daughters Taco Bell. She could go by Bell, but she didn't.
Come on, be more creative than that. You should have named your dog Chalupa or something, man.
Chalupa. It's not my dog. It's my wife's dog.
Okay, the next dog you get needs to be named Chalupa. I'm calling
I'll
it right now.
consider it. I will consider it. But no, that'd be awesome. Anyways, yeah, loaded. Jason, did you already announce the field for the skills challenge?
Just Chris Paul and Luka Doncic. The other contestants are Robert Covington, Julius Randle, Domantas Sabonis, and Nikola Vucevic. Did I pronounce that right? If I pronounce that right, I've only heard that name said like twice. So sorry.
Getting close. You're good.
Yeah. Good job, Jace. We're proud of you.
Yay.
Pronunciation.
I can read Russian.
Is he Russian?
I don't know. Sounds
I
Russian.
I think he's European. He might be Russian.
I know he's
Eastern
European.
He's Eastern European, which is kind of Russian.
Pretty much Russian.
If he's Russian, he's from Montenegro.
Where the heck is that?
Yeah, where is that?
It's like close to Croatia.
Geography with Kellen.
Dude, it is Eastern Europe. It's and I believe it's near the Baltic Sea region.
Cool.
Ooh.
I'm Googling it right now because
man.
I was right. It's borders Croatia next to the Adriatic Sea, but in that Baltic area, yeah. So yeah.
All right. Well, for the sake of time, because I know Brady's dying to talk about the UFC, I think we should move on
we
to
got to get through
the
college basketball.
college basketball really fast. We have on here upsets, and I know Jason mentioned a few, so we'll go with Jason really fast.
So guys, March Madness has begun, and my wife's just knows in my house in the month of March, college basketball is on my TV. And I got to watch the Illinois Illini absolutely just dismantle Michigan yesterday. They won by 20-plus points. And Michigan was ranked number 2 in the country at this period. So, just an amazing game. I'm excited to see what the Illini can do. If you guys, it shouldn't need to be said, but I'm going to say it anyway. This is the time to be watching college basketball. Just so glad it's March.
But that's the thing is this is a 4 versus 2 matchup. I mean, these are two phenomenal programs, and a game like this for both teams this was probably their biggest game of the year. I'll tell you what, there are some teams that in the last couple of years have really come out of the woodworks and established themselves as powerhouses in college basketball. It seemed like I went to Bolivia on my mission. When I came back, there was just influx of new power programs in college basketball. So yeah, I was definitely surprised by the score, but at the same time, when you get two good teams like this, if one team's hitting their shots and one team isn't, then this is a result you might get. But the fact remains, Michigan could very well beat Illinois. If they play well, this game, I think it is important, and it's got to be a big confidence boost for Illinois, and it does show how good they are. But at the same time, I don't think that the ramifications at this game of this game are too big because they still have the conference tournament. And either way, the one that really matters, the win that really matters, is the one that happens in the tournament. So,
but if I'm a fan of either of those teams, sorry, Mike, hold on. If I'm a fan of either of those teams, I'm not gonna. If I'm a Michigan fan and watch that game, I'm gonna be nervous about the conference tournament at this point. Like,
I don't feel like they need to be.
Yeah, I don't either.
Last week they rolled through Ohio State, who was number 4 in the country. Michigan did. It was like Ohio State was number 4 or 5, I think, and Michigan was number 3, I believe, last week, and they beat Ohio State. So I just feel like it's anyone's given night in that conference right now. When it's they're like two really, really good teams. It's just who shows up that night.
Mm-hmm. The thing that I didn't mention and should have is Illinois' leading scorer on the season did not play in that game. So, I mean, there's some things to think about there. But the team I really want to talk about from the NCAA right now is the Baylor Bears. Winning last night over West Virginia, they clinched the Big 12 regular season title, which is the first time since 56.
Wow.
So congratulations to the Baylor Bears from Waco, Texas. That's for you members of the church, that's where I serve my mission. So, hey, well done, guys.
Yeah, that's a big win. And it was not an easy win. That was an overtime win over number 6 West Virginia. I tell you what, these two conferences, the Big 10 and then the Big 12, they are so tough this season. There is so much talent in that conference. And I actually have been watching some of the highlights. I really like the way these teams play basketball because it seems like one thing about college basketball that people don't understand is the style of play in every conference differs. I think that's the reason why, for example, Gonzaga does so well against certain teams is because I think the style of play in the West Coast Conference is different than the style of play in the ACC or the Big 10 or the Big 12. And so I think not the WCC's style of play is like superior because obviously top to bottom there's so many conferences that are tougher. But I think that Gonzaga's style of play that they use when it comes to tournament, they've perfected it to a certain degree that it's a matchup problem for a lot of teams. But I'll tell you what, watching these conferences, the Big 10 and the Big 12, the way they play is extremely exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And just to wrap up this topic, just want to say really fast, Duke's out unless they win their conference tournament. Both of their past 2 losses have been in overtime. Kind of heartbreakers. I wasn't able to watch the games, but I've watched the recaps. They're both tough losses in overtime, but so I'm glad I didn't make the bet.
You should have made the bet.
Thing, though,
I'm kind of glad you didn't make the bet either now, Mike.
Here's the thing, though, is like they still have to play North Carolina, though, and that's the thing is like.
Yeah, but even if they beat North Carolina now, I don't think. I feel like they're gonna have to win their conference tournament.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So, all Kellen, right. I've got a situation for you to think about, my friend. I was looking at some bracketology predictions, and one of the brackets has BYU playing North Carolina.
I knew you were going to bring that up because I saw that.
And I'm
saw
kind of
that.
curious as to what your thoughts are there, my friend.
This is a hard question. I actually
It's
kinda
extremely
talk about that.
hypothetical, too. I'm sorry.
So maybe the person you should ask about that is my dad. So my
It's
dad
J-Dog.
actually is a graduate of BYU, and then he went and got his master's degree at the University of North Carolina. So he bleeds two different shades of blue. And I think his thing is he's always kind of leaned towards BYU in football, and he's always kind of leaned towards North Carolina in basketball. Because when he was at BYU was a powerhouse in football. When he was at North Carolina, they were a powerhouse in basketball. But for me, this is like super tough because this is one of those games where I'm a fan of both teams, but I think if it came down to it, I'd probably cheer for BYU.
That's all I needed to hear. We can move on now.
So I'd probably cheer for BYU.
Please
No,
do.
that's a really good question though. If that did happen, I would probably cheer for my Cougars. But yeah, let's actually talk some bracketology. We're going to talk about some bubble teams, especially because there's 3 of the first 4 outs have a little bit of tie-in to this show in particular. So right now, the way bracketology is set up, on the bubble, we have the last 4 byes, Louisville, UConn, Georgia Tech, and VCU. Last 4 in, we have Drake, Seton Hall, Michigan, and Xavier. And then the first 4 out, we're going to talk about this list. We have Boise State, Utah State, St. Louis, and Prison Mike's. Actually, tell you what, Mike, it's not hopeless. Duke is on that list. What are your thoughts about Boise State, Utah State, and Duke in particular being on the bubble? And what do they need to do, and what can they do to get into the tournament? We'll start off with Brady.
Ooh, you asked the person who knows least about this to start off, so we'll see how this goes. As far as those teams, I agree with Mike. After Duke's last 2 losses, I feel like they either need to go really far in their conference tournament or win the thing to get in. I feel like those were 2 big losses down the stretch. I feel like Boise State has a better chance of Utah State does right now, just because I think Boise State's better than Utah State. And I think Utah State's in about the same bubble as Duke. I feel like they either need to tournament, the Mountain West tournament, or they need to go pretty much to the championship to get in.
Brady, that was your pick, though. You predicted it.
I still think they're going to win the tournament. I still think they're going to win the tournament. I stand by that. They're going to win the Mountain West tournament. But I don't think they're going to get in if they don't.
Yeah, I agree. Mike, thoughts?
I pretty much agree with Brady. Like, I don't think there's much more to be said. Just going with Duke, like, I feel like this hasn't been updated from last night's loss, the bracketology. I don't know if it has been. I haven't looked at it.
It hasn't.
And, I mean, both their losses were in overtime to teams that are more than likely going to make it, but they're going to have to win to get that automatic bid in.
Yeah. Jason?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. I love this time of year. I'm surprised to see Boise State as the last 4 out. But at the same time, they have really suffered the last 2 weeks of the season. Both their losses were against San Diego State. But I mean, if they show up in the Mountain West Conference tournament, I don't feel like they have to win the tournament to get in, but they've got to be in that finals game, I feel. And if they can do that, I think they can get in.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. My thoughts, look, I agree with Brady in the fact that I think Utah State – did Mike die?
I don't know.
Oh.
He's running from the law.
Oh, he had to go to a class. I bet he just left. I just heard.
Oh, that's right.
Open.
Oh, okay. I was so worried.
He's on the run.
The cops had got to him. No, he had to go. No, I agree with with Brady, though. I think Utah State, they are going to be competitive for that tournament title, but I do think they're going to ultimately need to win it. I think San Diego State will get in the tournament whether they win it or not. I think Boise State and Utah State are going to have to kind of make a statement in order to have a shot at realistically getting one of those seeds. So, all right. Are we done talking about college basketball?
Yes.
I think so. I think that's why Mike left, is he felt like we were done. Oh, Mike just texted me and said he got kicked out, but he has to go to class anyway.
We miss you, Mike, and we love you. Our thoughts are with you. Anyways, we're going to talk about UFC 259. Let's freaking do this. I've been rearing to go. It is on Saturday. It's fighting and punching and kicking, and you can't bite, though. That's against the rules. That's where they draw the line. No biting.
No biting.
Anyways, we're going to
And
talk
no
about
shots to the groin. You forgot
So
that one.
obviously
No
we
shots to
talked
the groin.
about the Aljamain Sterling Piotr Jan fight on Monday. We're going to talk about the two main cards, the co-main event and the main event. Co-main event is I kind of want to sound like Bruce Buffer, but I wouldn't do it justice, so I'm not going to try it. It's between Megan Anderson of Australia and Amanda, the Lioness Nunes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That was pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. What are your guys' thoughts?
Ooh. So we're talking about the Amanda Nunes Megan Anderson fight, right?
Yes.
I do think Amanda Nunes is going to win. I feel like she's too big of a power to bet against right now. But I've watched a bit of film on Megan Anderson, and she is scary. I think she's like 6'1", just a specimen. It seems like she's mainly a striker from what I can tell, and has a lot of power.
Yeah. No, totally. She's 6 foot. She's my height. And she's a true 145er, right? Like, a lot of these women in the 145 division have a hard time getting up to 145. She has a hard time weighing 145. And it's not because it's because she is a specimen.
She's tall.
Well, no, she is. There is not an ounce of fat on that woman's body. She is muscle, dude. She is a beast. Jason, have you been able to look into this fight at all?
I mean, I followed Amanda Nunes a little bit and watched her fights. Haven't done much research on Megan, but one of the things that I read today is there is speculation this might be Amanda Nunes' last fight. So
there's always that possibility.
If you were looking for a reason to watch, that might be the reason right there.
Well, it would surprise me. It wouldn't shock me, though. She recently did become a mother, and I know that she's talked about how she really wants to continue to be a good mom, and that's something that's really important to her. I don't know if it'll be her last fight. I hope it isn't. But let me just say this. First of all, I am impressed by Megan Anderson. She is an absolute beast. The way she fights is incredible. She wins 55% of her fights by knockout, but she also wins 27 by submission. So she's got some really good ground skills that I think will be of benefit to her. And then I watched some interviews she did. She's a very focused person, and this is a fight that's really important to her. But guys, for a fact, I'm not going to bet against Amanda Nunes.
You can't do it. You can't do it.
Amanda Nunes is by far the greatest women's MMA fighter of all time. She knocked out Holly Holm. She knocked out Ronda Rousey. She knocked out Chris Cyborg. She's taken some of the greatest combat sport females ever and turned them into mush. She is just so incredibly dominant that to bet against her would be the dumbest thing you could do. She is an incredible grappler. She has freak strength. And then she has this motor. She just goes at you and at you and at you, and she smothers you, and she puts pressure on you. And as good as Megan Anderson is, I do think this could be an okay fight. I just don't see her beating Amanda Nunes. I think either Amanda Nunes is going to knock her out, or she's going to go all 5 rounds, and by the end of it, she's not going to look very good. Megan Anderson isn't going to look very good. She's going to be really tired and bloodied and wishing that she hadn't gone 5 rounds with the Lioness, man. Her nickname is the Lioness. That is like so fitting.
That's scary.
I
That's
just
scary.
say though, if Megan Anderson beats Amanda Nunes, in my opinion, that is a more impressive and shocking victory than when Holly Holm knocked out Ronda Rousey. And it won't get the same hype, but it is more impressive in my opinion.
I don't know. I kind of feel like the UFC world has finally gotten over Ronda Rousey. And so
I'm not saying that. Oh, go ahead.
That being said, I mean, I think if Megan is able to pull this off, I hope she gets the coverage and the attention she deserves, because that's just nuts. Like I can't even fathom that.
Yeah. The reason, like, I agree, the MMA world has gotten over Ronda Rousey, but the reason why that was a bigger deal at the time was because when Ronda Rousey got knocked out by Holly Holm, everybody thought she was unbeatable. And she was so famous. She was the face of the UFC, not just women's fighting. She was the face of the UFC. So that upset was monumental. And it will always probably be the most hyped upset of all time in the UFC. But in my opinion, this would be a lot more impressive. And it's because of the fact that we saw someone as dominant as Rousey get knocked out by Holly Holm, that seeing Amanda Nunes get knocked out, while it would be shocking, wouldn't be as big of a deal, because now we know that the unbeatable can be beat.
Yeah, I agree, Kellen. I agree with what you're saying, but I don't want to take any credit away from what Megan would have to do to beat Nunes, and that is probably not the most hyped upset, but probably the hardest upset in UFC women's history.
Oh, it would
total.
Like I said, it would be more impressive to me than Holly Holmes, because Amanda Nunes is that good.
Yeah.
Brady, any thoughts before we move on to the main card?
No, we need time to talk about the Blachowicz Adesanya, because that is the one that I'm looking forward to the others, but I'm looking forward to the Blachowicz Adesanya on just a whole different level.
Yeah, and we probably will go over time. I'm just going to warn any of our viewers. We probably will go over time, but I'm not going to apologize. I'm just going to warn them. So Brady, why don't you go into it? Let's just talk about this Israel Adesanya Jan Blachowicz fight, because guys, I'm giddy like a schoolgirl. I'm giddy like a schoolgirl at a Justin Bieber concert in 2012. That's how excited I am.
Oh, me too. Me too. But yeah. So Israel Adesanya, the last style bender, he holds the middleweight belt right now, but he has decided to move up to challenge for the light heavyweight belt against the current champion, Jan Blachowicz. And I think this fight is going to be such a good one. I've watched videos where people have chosen some people have chosen Blachowicz to win it, some have chosen Adesanya, and it seems like no one can make up their mind on who's going to win this fight. I'm a huge Israel Adesanya fan, so I'm really hoping that he does, and that's the way I'm kind of swaying right now. But I could see Blachowicz definitely winning it if he's able to land any strikes on Adesanya. So we'll see what happens. Think about this fight.
Jason, you go ahead.
So I'm kind of on the same page as Brady, but if Blachowicz is able to pull this off, I'm going Did I just butcher his name? Blachowicz? I
It's-
can't ever pronounce
close.
Polish
It's Jan
names.
Blachowicz.
I did. Hey, you know what? I'm 1 for 2 right now on hard pronunciated names. I'll take it. Okay. Anyway, it's not going to hurt my feelings though if he wins this fight. Okay. I like Adesanya. I'd like to see him win it. It'd be cool to see him hold 2 belts at one time. It doesn't happen very often. It has recently, but historically not very often. So I'd love to see it, but at the same time, if Blachowicz is able to pull this off, good on him. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, and it wouldn't hurt my feelings at all to see him win it.
Yeah. Okay. I've been wanting to talk about this fight for so long, guys. First of all, this is a huge deal because it is a super fight. And ultimately those don't come along very often where you get 2 champs going at it in the octagon. These guys fought on the same card. I believe it was back in September, on September 26th. And I remember watching that fight. Blachowicz was fighting Dominic Reyes, and at the time I was getting into UFC and I was getting pretty passionate about it, but I didn't really know much about Blachowicz. I knew who Dominic Reyes was because he went the distance with John Jones, and I knew how good of a fighter Dominic Reyes was. So I was like, yeah, Dominic Reyes is going to knock him out and win the belt. And then Jan Blachowicz absolutely dominated him, knocked him out in the second round of that fight. And I remember thinking, holy cow, this Polish power thing is it's real. Jan Blachowicz, first of all, let me just say, it is so easy to root for this guy. This is a guy he seems like a very humble guy. He seems like a very good person, but he's also a guy that at one point between 2015 and 2017, he lost 4 out of 5 fights. And the UFC was actually on the verge of cutting him from the promotion completely. They were going to cut him from the UFC. And then he started winning, and he kind of went on a run. He only lost one of his next 10 fights. He lost one of his next 10 fights to Thiago Santos, who, by the way, is a legend in the UFC and MMA industry. And him winning that belt against Dominic Reyes shows really how much he's improved, shows the passion that he has. So he's a really easy guy to root for. Dude, this guy is freaking huge. He's 6'2" and 205, but he is like the stereotypical Polish-looking man. This guy, I think it's hard. I kind of tend to think it's hard for him to get down to 205 because he is a lumberjack. This guy is massive.
Yeah. And I actually, I was watching Blachowicz talk about his weight. And so weigh-ins, he's going to be at 215, obviously. Or 205, sorry.
205.
205. He's going to be at 205. Yeah, my mind just blanked there. But he said by the fight on Saturday, he thinks he'll be up to like 220, 225. He's going to put on that weight. And Adesanya said he thinks he'll be around 195.
That's what I saw too. He said he's walking around at like 193 right now.
Yeah, so Jan Blachowicz will potentially weigh 30 more pounds than Israel Adesanya. And Adesanya, he said, obviously his strategy is to not gain that weight so he can stay fast and quick. And he says that, he's going to have that power, but I'm going to be a lot quicker than him and he won't be able to hit me. So it wouldn't really do me any good gaining the extra weight anyways, because if I got hit, I'd be in the same boat anyway, so I might as well just be quicker than him, which that sounds like a smart strategy for me. But just the fact that Jan Blachowicz will weigh 30 more pounds than Israel Adesanya on fight night is staggering.
Dude, well, and that's the thing, though, is I look at that and I think, like, that size factor, like, it should be. He gets hit once and it's over. But, guys, it's freaking Israel Adesanya. This guy is a precision striker. This is probably the best striker in the UFC. I mean, he'll probably retire as maybe the best striker of all time. His fight IQ is so high. He's so quick. He himself has said it's precision over power. And part of me wants to be like, yeah, but that size difference, and you look at how he compares, but remember, Paulo Costa was a massive middleweight. Like realistically, I think Paulo Costa could fight 205 pretty easily. And
Easy.
everyone talked about the power of Costa. If Costa hits Adesanya is out. And obviously Jan Blachowicz is probably bigger and stronger than Costa, but still, we saw what he did to a massive power puncher like Costa. So going into this fight, it's really intriguing. I think despite the fact that Adesanya will be 30 pounds lighter, I think he's smart by not gaining the weight.
It's a mountain lion versus a bear.
Yeah.
That's what I've been thinking. It's a mountain lion versus a bear at this point. And so I'm intrigued. Like I'm really excited about this fight, guys. It's going to be awesome. The food's going to be awesome. The company's going to be awesome. It's just going to be awesome. In fact,
pretty awesome.
In fact, I'm just really excited. And there's a surprise Kellen doesn't know about the day before.
Ooh. Yeah. So I do have a couple questions before we go into our predictions. First of all, this fight has a lot of significance for a couple reasons. And one of them is because I feel like Israel Adesanya has an opportunity here to go into the same. I think he's already a star in the UFC. And anybody who becomes a champion is a star. But I think Israel Adesanya has the opportunity with this fight, if he wins, to go from being a star to quite possibly the star of the UFC. He will be this is a superstar fight for him. This is a legend fight. He wins this, and if he does it in dominant fashion, he gets both belts, he will become the new face of the UFC. Like ultimately, he already kind of is in that realm, but he will be, in my opinion, in the same category as guys like John Jones, Conor McGregor, Chuck Liddell. He will be one of those guys that will be remembered forever in UFC lore. That has a lot for that. Like that would be massive for him. And I think that almost for the UFC, they're kind of hoping Adesanya does win, because then they can start marketing him like they do Conor McGregor, because he's got the look, he's got the style, he's brash, he's got the personality and the charisma. They're looking at it like, all right, like we're already making a lot of money off this guy. If he wins this fight, we are going to make him one of the richest dudes in the world, like they did with Conor McGregor. And on the other side, you got Jan Blachowicz, who, if he wins this fight, then people are like, you know what? John Jones. John Jones. He's right up there in the conversation with fighting guys like John Jones or Stipe. This would be huge for him too. And he'd go from being just a champion. I think people would be like, all right, yeah, Jan Blachowicz, he's a star in this. And he'd become a household name too. So, I mean, the repercussions for both guys are huge. The stakes of this fight are absolutely massive. And I honestly, guys, I've never been like, I'm excited for a lot of sporting events. Like, I always get excited for the Super Bowl. I always get excited for March Madness. I don't know if I've ever been this giddy over a sporting event in my life, where I'm honestly just like, my wife thinks I'm crazy, and I started sucking back on Grandpa's cough medicine because I'm always like swooning and stuff. But guys, this fight is huge, and this is going to be – I think this is going to be a night in UFC history that people are going to talk about for a long, long time.
No, I completely agree. I'm right with you as far as the giddiness and just how excited I am for this. I don't think there's much more to say, but it's going to be crazy.
Yeah. Jason, why don't you start on your prediction?
Okay, so I'm going to take are we doing both fights?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna take. Obviously, I'm gonna take Nunes in the fight we previewed first, and I'm gonna take Adesanya. I think he's gonna take it. The thing we're not talking about is how old Blachowicz is right now. I don't know how many more fights he's got in him after this one. 2, 3 maybe. So this is a big fight for him.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
You want me to go?
Brady.
All right. I'm gonna have to go with Amanda Nunes as well. I think she's gonna take that one. She's gonna beat Megan Anderson. And with the Adesanya and Blachowicz, I've got to go with Jason's pick as well. I've got to go with Adesanya. I just feel like he's right at his physical prime right now. He's so smart. I feel like he's just gonna pick Blachowicz to pieces. He's gonna make him frustrated, I think he's just gonna frustrate the heck out of Blachowicz, and I think Adesanya is gonna beat him.
Yeah. For the Megan Anderson Amanda Nunes fight, I'm actually excited for that fight. I actually think Amanda Nunes is going to win that fight. Obviously, I already voiced that opinion. I think she's going to win it by decision, though. I think Megan Anderson is going to go the distance with her, but I don't think she's going to look great in those last rounds, in those championship rounds. I think that Amanda Nunes is going to be able to use her superior ability to take her down, ground and pound, wear her out. Could finish it by TKO, but I think it will be a unanimous decision for Amanda Nunes. The Jan Blachowicz-Israel Adesanya fight, I wish I could say, I'm going to be the unpopular opinion, but I'm going to have to agree with you guys. I can't bet against Israel Adesanya. Jan Blachowicz is a great fighter, and I'm really glad that, first of all, he deserves huge props for taking this fight. He spent a lot of years trying to become the champ, and he finally won it. And then his first title defense is against arguably the greatest striker in the UFC, a guy who's as good as Adesanya. First of all, that shows that he really wants to, fight the best guys and that he's not afraid. So I think he deserves props for even taking this fight.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look at Adesanya and his ability to break down opponents and adapt and throw them off guard, he just is too good of a striker, and his fighting IQ is way too high. I don't see him losing. In fact, I actually see this fight ending via knockout or TKO within the first 3 rounds, because I think if it goes into those championship rounds, I think the endurance factor is going to go with Adesanya. You saw what he did against Gastelum in the 5th round of that fight. He has a motor that few fighters in the UFC have. So that's my pick. Adesanya, 3rd round, knockout or TKO. And that's all she wrote, guys. We're way over time, but we had to do it, This is too good of a fight card. Yeah.
And before we move on, guys, if you are interested in our UFC takes, we are going to be doing some live reaction between fights. I know we've announced it before, but I just want to remind everybody. So stay tuned with us on Saturday night to get those reactions / last minute predictions in. We're so excited. It's going to be such a fun night, and we hope that you guys can join us.
It is going to be awesome. Well, we're going to move on to our favorite segment, the C-squared moment of the day. I'm actually going to go first today. My C-squared moment of the day was the fact that I got to go on a walk. It was a nice enough day. I actually got to go on a walk with my dog and my wife, and it was really nice to actually go outside and be able to do something like that and not freeze or get blown over by the wind or step in snow. So that's my C-squared moment of the day. How about you go next, Jason?
Okay, so mine's a little unorthodox. I hope this works. This is my C-squared moment of the day. Can you guys see that okay? I know the glare's a little bad. Hold on.
Can
you see?
Yeah.
We're starting him off young. Look at this. Watch this reverse takedown. Oh, wait. It's the next one. Man, I love this kid. Right there!
Oh.
Yeah!
Dude, someday, I'm predicting it, McCoy is going to retire Israel Adesanya.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Love that kid to death. He's either wrestling that big red dummy thing, or he's Bronco set up a little mini basketball hoop and he's just dunking it like over and over again. So he's a chip off the old block, a sports fan / semi good athlete, and excited to watch this kid grow up.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that video. Yeah, we'll go with Brady last for your C-squared moment of the day.
All right. Let's see. Kellen already took the weather, so I'm going to steer away from that. I'm going to go with the fact that the Jazz right now are neck and neck with Philadelphia with like 2 minutes left to play. So my C-squared moment of the day is I got to get off and finish that one because right now it is tied. 2 minutes to play.
Oh, man, I'm going to go watch that too.
I've actually been watching it this whole time, if I'm being honest, just on a different screen.
well, we will let Brady go then. We will let Brady go then so that he can get to that. But we're really glad that you guys were able to tune in. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Please like and subscribe to our channel. We'll be putting out more content here soon. If you have any ideas for us, we're more than happy to review it. So, signing off, we are the Sports Fans.
K.
G.
Brother.